everyone! There have been a few requests for my writing resources because I didn't do those in a bookshelf tour. So I figured I would just film that video quick for you guys. And here we go. So, what's the best way to do this? I guess I'll go from the wall this way. So first I have Story Trump Structure by Stephen James. This one. Very good book, very interesting if you, like me, are not really a planner, but rather what the people in NaNoWriMo call a pantser, where you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and make stuff up as you go along. This one, it's really cool because it breaks down the elements of story in a way that allows you to write confidently, even without a plan. Then I also have Troubleshooting Your Novel by Stephen James. This one he actually recommended to me when I was asking him some questions about what he would recommend to do in certain situations. Both of them, no, this one is not signed, but this one is. I got this one at a writer's conference where I met him. But this one he recommended, and I bought it off of Amazon because I was like, that was super helpful. And it really is like, here's a problem that you might be having, and then like a couple pages on how to fix it throughout the entire book. And each chapter section thing ends with like, here's how to fine-tuning your manuscript notes so that you know how best to actually fix your manuscript based off of his suggestions. So those are those two. And then I have the Writer's Digest Handbook of Magazine Writing. I got this one as a textbook for school when I was in a feature and article writing class. This one, it goes over from start to finish all of the different types of articles that you could ever write and how to write them, where to get resources for them, and so on and so forth. Next up, I have the market guides. So I have the Christian Writer's Market Guide for 2018, so it's a little bit out of date, but things don't change all that much in a year, so you don't have to buy it every single year, and usually your library will have one of these. We had to buy them for class. So I have the 2018 guide for Christian's market, so that's everything from Christian book publishers to Christian magazines. So if you're a Christian writer, you need this. But if you don't intend on writing for Christian markets, then not a super helpful book. But essentially what it is just, it's like a list of how to submit articles to all sorts of different companies and different competitions or conferences or support groups, or on and on, contact information for editors. This book is a very good book to have on your shelf if you intend on writing Christian fiction or Christian nonfiction, just Christian writing in general. Then we have the Writer's Market Guide. This honkin' book is like, again, the dictionary or Bible or whatever for just writing in general. So it has magazines, it has publishers, it has nonfiction, it has literary journals, it has, on and on and on by genre and by whether they're magazines or trade journals or contests and awards. Like, it has a lot of stuff. Again, this is put out every year. They're all different colors, but I have the 2018 one. So as you're using older versions of this, go through and double check to make sure that the information is actually accurate, and so on and so forth. But super helpful if you want to be a freelance writer. And then this one, The Story and Its Writer, is a collection of short stories with commentary on them by the writer. So it's like all of the short stories, and they say that in order to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader, and that's exactly what this book does. It's an anthology of successful classic stories to help you be the best writer you can be. But it's like written from the perspective of, hey, you're a writer studying these stories, not just a reader studying the stories. Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. I haven't actually read this book yet, but I ought to, because it's small. It's small and consumable, and one of the most helpful books I've heard ever that every writer should ever read, ever. So I got this one from my mom, but I'm sure you can get it from the library or something too. Anyway, this was a helpful, just a helpful little words that people get wrong and how to spell things and just on and on. It's literally like a dictionary. So it would be sitting down to read a little dictionary, but it's super helpful because it can get you up to speed really quickly. And then we have Lapsing into a Comma, another editing book, writing book, a curmudgeon's guide to the many things that can go wrong in print and how to avoid them is the subtitle there. Again, I haven't yet read this one. I need to. I plan to. What is this? Anyway, but yeah, so definitely a good one to have on your shelf, I assume, or my mom wouldn't have it. But it was written by a copy desk chief for the Washington Post, so they know what they're talking about. And then we have Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. I don't have the dust jacket for this, but Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. It's, again, grammar, how to edit well, what people tend to do wrong, different apostrophe rules, like all of that fun stuff. But this one is written out in much more of a conversational tone. But like, this can either be Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, like a panda eating bamboo, or it can be somebody who went to a restaurant, ate something, shot somebody, and then left. The grammar matters here, the punctuation matters here, and that's what this pen is talking about. And then I have the 14th edition of the Chicago Manual of Style. All of these books are going to fall. Stay. So I have the 14th edition of the Chicago Manual of Style. Again, one of these is put out every year about. So this one's a little bit out of date, but at the same time, not a whole lot changes between each edition. So double check online. There's an online version of this book as well. But this is the manual that 99% of book publishers use. And it's anything fiction or nonfiction that is a book intended for consumers will be in this style. Newspapers use AP style, science papers use APA, there are a few other styles, but this one, if you're writing books and stories, this is what you need, the Chicago Manual of Style. This is also where you have that moment of conflict between the Oxford comma and the no Oxford comma, because this one agrees with the Oxford comma and defends it, whereas like AP, because of newsprint and trying to save money on costs and ink, the less ink you're using, even in terms of a comma, is more helpful. So, I mean, when you look at it that way, I understand, but at the same time, for clarity, I very much agree with the need for the Oxford comma. Anyway, so that's the Chicago Manual of Style. And then we have How to Read Literature Like a Professor. I got this one in high school when I was starting AP classes, and it's just a good way to learn how to read books and literature and look for the symbolism, and the better reader you are, the better writer you will be, because if you can identify the symbolism, you'll be able to also intentionally put symbolism into your books. And then I have this guy. I got this one at the professional writing conference at Taylor University as well. How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy by Orson Scott Card. It's a little guide in world building and just how to write those genres, and I can't wait to read it. I have Business Writing Today. So this was, again, another textbook that I had for college, but this covers everything from news releases and press releases to how to write an email, how to write a blog post, how do you communicate effectively in a business environment, which a lot of people don't realize takes a different set of skills than you're used to. And then I have, alrighty, we're just gonna take these guys down. Okay. And then I have 642 Things to Write About. This book was written in 24 hours and by a bunch of people. And they all just came up with, it's just a bunch of writing prompts. So if you're ever stuck in your writing, it's a good way to get unstuck. But yeah, it's a little prompt book with 642 prompts. Word by Word by Linda Linda Taylor. She was one of my favorite professors ever. She very highly impacted my writing career and my life, and I am blessed to count her as a friend. She wrote this little guide to help you as a writer know how to self-edit your book to help get it up to industry standards. And it's a very helpful, very condensed, very just straightforward guide on how to edit your book. So that you're editing well and not making a fool of yourself and representing yourself well in the written word. And if you are a freelance writer or just trying to get your book published, this book will help you no matter what you're trying to do. The Art and Craft of Christian Fiction. I had to read this book for a writing a literary novel class that I took over J-term. And it's a collection of blog posts and columns that Jeff Gerke wrote over a few years. The Writer's Digest reached out and was like, hey, can we just combine this all into one book? And so we did, and it's looking at, like, a lot of it is just pretty general how to write stuff, but writing from the Christian perspective. So if you're a Christian writer looking for a helpful book, this one's a good one. And then we have Stein on Writing. I actually haven't read this one yet, but it was recommended to me by one of my other professors at Taylor University, and I've heard good things from the alumni who have read it, but I have not yet personally read it, but it's on my writing shelf for me to read someday. And then lastly, we have Writers on Writing. This was my very first freshman year, first book on craft. It has some water damage from walking in the rain around campus and all of that good stuff. But it's a collection of writers talking about how to write books and the mistakes that people tend to make. And it's like there's stuff on the writer, stuff on the craft, stuff on the business of writing, how to find the right market, how to work with an agent, how to develop your platform, how to write a nonfiction book, how to write a fiction book, how to write a screenplay, just on and on and on. And it's all of the secrets and how to get published from a bunch of people who did it really well. So if you're looking for books on writing and on craft, I hope this video can help you. And those are my writing resources. It's all of the resources on my shelf that I use for writing and that I have easily accessible for when I want to grab something and be like, okay, how do I do this again? Things that I'm going to be perusing again year by year, just to stay up to date in my training and in my learning and know that I'm still doing my job to the best of my ability. If you like this video, like and subscribe and share it with a writer friend. And if you have any questions about any of these books, I'd love to try to answer them. Like I said, I haven't read all of them, but they're super helpful, super good books to have in your arsenal as you go about learning to be a writer. So if you have any other bookshelf questions for me, again, I have shelf number 2 still to finish up there. But other than that, that's my entire bookshelf. I mean, mostly. Here are the other books that I didn't do a tour on. My Christian nonfiction books. And then just a collection of my Bibles and my some YA or middle grade and some textbooks. And this is kind of my hodgepodge shelf along with my Pathfinder books. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel, and I look forward to filming some more videos in the future. I have a bucket list for YouTube that I'm going to start working my way through, so I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you next time. Until then, bye!